Hello viewers and welcome again to Discovering Truth, and I am Pastor Forbes from the Gateway Abiding with Ministries here in the Gambia. We are now in the third, and I believe this will be the final part of our interesting discussion, the series entitled You and Your Leadership. Of course, you could be part of the leadership team or you can be the leader. But each leadership team is made up of a leader, a team leader, and the team. And if they succeed together. If they fail together. One of the worst things that can happen to a leadership team is when they are not together. So we all know the phrase, united we stand, divided we fall. And one of the best ways for people to break the oneness and togetherness of a team is using the principle we know as divide and rule, or divide and conquer. A lot of us have watched documentaries on channels like Animal Planet, etc. And you would always notice this documentary that they show you where there is a group of zebras, I don't know what they call them, and then there's this lion that's chasing them. And while the lion is chasing them, they are all running away, and the lion or the lioness will succeed in isolating one from the group, and the group will run in another direction. This one is running for their life, and the lion will chase and tire them out, pounce on them, and enjoy them for their meal. Why? They divided and conquered. So the leadership team must be together. And that means that the leader must have a sense of direction, focus, experience, vision, mission, and must be able to hands-on do what they're doing. You know, it's like how we say every good football coach was once a player, and sometimes is still a player. So there are these little reels on social media that you see when sometimes the footballers kick the ball and it was going towards the sides, and the coach sometimes chested it down or kept it with his foot, and everybody keeps clapping. There's a lot of them I've seen the way they twist up the ball, dribble the ball, and it came up, and they threw it to the person to do the throw in. That's because the coach themselves are players. They have been there. They've done that. So a leader must not be chosen, appointed, nominated, or even self-appointed without experience. The Bible says that never put a novice into a place of position. How can they manage? How can they lead? How can they direct? How can they guide? It also says, woe unto a nation if its king is a child. You're trying to talk business with him, and maybe he's watching Ice Age 4. He's watching Shrek. He's playing with Lego pieces. So the leader must have the experience, must be exemplary, and know what to do. I have been reliably told that in the First Republic, in late President Sadao Jawara's time, you could not be a permanent secretary if you had not served as a commissioner in all, then it was called the divisions. So Western Division, Lower River Division, Makati Island Division, MID, North Bank Division, Upper River Division. You have to have been there. And of course, Banjul and Serekunda, the combos. So that you are au fait with the operation of local government and everything. I believe sometimes that's the reason why there is a rotation of permanent secretaries. Sometimes it doesn't seem to make sense. The permanent secretary of Ministry X was trained in that area. For example, let's say health. Let's say the PS is a doctor, a nurse, a midwife, or somebody in the medical fraternity, and you throw them to finance, or you throw them to petroleum, and you bring the petroleum person and you throw them into foreign affairs, or you throw them into education. It's for them to become au fait with policy, manifestation, activation, actualization so that they can do it. Similarly, the team that is brought together must be a strong team that is able to add value and push this vision forward. And maybe next series I may talk about loyalty. I'm not too sure, because this is a question I've been asked of recent. Where is loyalty? And I've been able to answer it in 2 or 3 ways. Number one, especially in governance, architecture, and administrative functions, there is an office and there is a person. So there is the office of the executive director and there's a person who sits there. The office is bigger than the person. The person may glorify the office, but you must be committed to the office more than the person. And in some instances, it's even political. So the prime minister, the president, in non-monarchical systems, because in monarchical systems, the king is it. So the citizens are not even called citizens, they should be called subjects. The king and his or her kingdom, the realm, they own everything, they control everything. So you bow before the king, you say, long live the king, long live the queen, etc. Now there are some monarchies where it looks like they serve for some time, they come out, they abdicate and all that. But in terms of constituent democracy and all that, you find that there's the office of the governor, and there's the governor himself or herself. And loyalty should be to the office more than the person. The presidency is greater than the president. And any. My office is bigger than me. And so that team that is being brought together must have that in mind, so that their loyalty is not unduly to a person. Because that is how sometimes people destroy their career development and path. Because we're so loyal to a person that when the person is not there, then people don't see us as loyalty to a purpose, loyalty to a cause, commitment to a cause. And people just put us aside. Over and beyond enshrined rules in some countries that once the president, either their term is over or they've been voted in the elections, they've lost, then in some countries, every person around them should submit their resignation. And sometimes some people are reappointed. That's understood. That's not what I'm talking about. But this sycophantic, brainless loyalty does not work for the common good, because of what good is it? Except I will really sworn to survivalist in a survivalism in a measure that even my own family will be shocked. Because there's life after every office. People retire. Some people retire, you never hear about them again, because they retire in shame. They retire and nobody wants to know anything about them, because during their tenure as leader or as the leadership team, they were oppressive. The people suffered. The people struggled. It's like the people, it's as if there was a dark, ominous cloud over that institution, that company, that whatever it is. And suddenly when they know, it's like good riddance to trash, good riddance to bad rubbish, good riddance to bad luck. That should not be the case. And no leader should put their leadership team in that position, because you destroy their career. There are people who, after they leave, they have to find a bit of leaving the country, living somewhere, going somewhere else, reinventing themselves. No. The 3 men we've looked at in part 1 and part 2, in this final part of our series entitled You and Your Leadership Team, we looked at Adino, we looked at Eliezer, and we looked at Shammah. These 3 men stood in their integrity, stood for their professionalism, did what was right, didn't curry any favor, and were happy. And as I said, when you watch movies, when the person is being rewarded, they say, I was only doing my job. Sometimes it's good to say that. Take the acknowledgement, because if you take it too much, it gets into your head and then, hey, I'm God. There's nobody like me. I am the greater. And that's why sometimes people can misread their sense of popularity and get into trouble. I want to end this series with another story, and this is going to be a shocking story. And I want to read quickly from 1 Samuel. So we've been reading 2 Samuel 23. Now I'm going backwards to 1 Samuel chapter 31. And I'm just reading 6 verses. And this is going to be hard for the team, but it's on the mix. So, 1 Samuel chapter 31, verse 1 to 6. Now the Philistines, the same people were always fighting the Israelis. The Philistines were fighting against Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Philistines, and they fell slain. They were killed in a place called Mount Gilboa. It's a mountain. The Philistines even overtook King Saul and his sons, and the Philistines killed his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, Malchishua, the 3 sons of Saul. They killed them. So it's like the dynasty is over. No generational, everything is over. The battle went heavily against Saul, and the archers hit him. The bow and arrow people, they hit Saul, and he was badly wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, his ADC, draw your sword and pierce me through with it. Otherwise this uncircumcised will come and pierce me through and make sport of me, make fun of me. But his armor bearer would not. For he was greatly afraid, how can I kill my boss? So King Saul took his own sword and fell on it and killed himself, because he didn't want to die in the hands of the enemy. Let me kill myself. Let me die in dignity and honor as a leader. Verse 5. When his armor bearer saw that Saul, his boss, his king, his master, his leader was dead, he also fell on his own sword and died with him. Verse 6. Thus King Saul died with his 3 sons, his armor bearer, and all his men. On that day, they all died together. What a story. Israel was at war. Saul was king. He was the first king of Israel. The Bible describes him as head and shoulders taller than everybody. He could fight. They were at war. And the war was severe. The Philistines attacked them and they began to flee. They were running. They were running on horseback, running. And they tried to note out, because remember I told you it's a battle strategy. The Bible was the first to say, if you strike the shepherd, if you strike the leader, if you kill the leader, why are we fighting when the leader is dead? So you have this phrase in the Bible, to your tents, O Israel, everybody run. Or like we say, everybody for himself, God for us all. And everybody run. So they pursued, and they got King Saul's 3 sons, Jonathan, the heir apparent, Abinadab, and Malchishua. They killed them, but they didn't get Saul. And they pursued and pursued and pursued, and the battle was heavy. And the archers, in their archery, their bow and arrow, they were shooting this thing, and they finally got King Saul. And he was badly wounded. That is what verse 3 says. 1 Samuel chapter 31, verse 3. He was badly wounded by the archers, and Saul knew he was going to die. They would catch him. He couldn't go faster again. He couldn't move. So he turned to his armor bearer who was with him and said, take your sword and just thrust me and kill me. So I know I died in the hands of my own, and the enemy could never be able to say they killed me. I will not give them the joy of saying they killed me. I died on my own terms. And the armor bearer was afraid, no, I can't do that. I was deployed to serve you, to protect you. I'll give my life for you. I'll take a bullet for you. And I'm sure the enemy was approaching, and Saul took his own sword. The king took the king's own sword and fell on it and died. And then verse 5 says, when the armor bearer saw that King Saul was dead, he said to himself, I have no more purpose in living. My gifting, my skill, my training has no more future, no more purpose. When he saw that when the armor bearer saw that Saul had died, he also fell on his own sword and died with him. Can you do that? Can I do that? Or will you do that? Will I do that? Ladies and gentlemen, this is just beyond sycophantic loyalty. These are levels of commitment that make leadership teams what they should be like. Every bodyguard is trained to take a bullet for their principal. We see it in movies all the time. They are trained. When that young man trained that gun and missed former President Donald Trump and just grazed the air, everybody came and nobody knew how many more bullets he had. And as you can tell, one bullet unfortunately killed a man who was trying to protect his wife and his daughter. There is a cost to which you can be committed. There's a cost to which we can be committed. We are not begged into that level of commitment. We are not bribed. We are not cajoled. It's just a sense of commitment to a cause, to a purpose for the greater common good. And history, posterity, and the future always smiles on us. There are statues all around the world, even in our countries. There are certain graves that regularly people go there. They lay wreaths to the tomb of that unknown soldier, to the people who fought at the First World War, Second World War. Memorial Day in America is a day when people remember those who gave them liberty, etc., 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 etc. It has nothing to do with tribal affiliation, sometimes nothing to do with religious affiliation. It has nothing to do with sycophancy. It has nothing to do with hero worshipping, cronyism, nepotism. It's just professional commitment to a cause. Which commitment, if I cannot give, I should say I am unable to do. Because when the chips are down and I am being dependent upon, I should be there. I should not be people amongst those who ran away in the time of battle. I must defend the cause, defend the motherland, defend the purpose. Defend. Is that easy? No. Because, ladies and gentlemen, on the cross of Calvary, as Jesus died for you and for me, a lot of his disciples vanished. Because it's hard to give this kind of commitment. You are so committed to your boss that he's not there. You say you're not there. If they recall him, you say, I'm going, because I was only here serving him. Like somebody once told me in Canada, if my boss goes, I go. I thought, wow, what a level of commitment. Are there such levels? Yes. Are there causes that call for such levels? Yes. And again, I'm not talking about fanaticism. I'm not talking about cronyism and sycophantic behavior. No, there's just this ultimate commitment. And you see people like Shammah who stand in a field and defend it while they are bleeding. You see people like Eliezer who fight, and when they finish, the sword is cleaving to their hand. You see people like Adino who will fight and kill 800 men. Those are not people you can say they had no scratch. No, They do have scratches. In the Bible, we have this sweet phrase that Paul, the apostle, made. He said, "Let nobody bother me, because I bear in my body the marks of Jesus Christ. I pay the price." So as I end this 3-part series on you and your leadership team, how are you choosing your leadership team? You in the leadership team, how were you chosen? Political expediency? Religiously? Tribally? Or was it efficiency? You and I as leaders, what are we looking for? Am I looking for somebody who will cover all my sins and all my indiscretions? Or am I looking for somebody who will give me their best, their impartial view, their professional advice, and I make decisions based on that, and I stand by the decisions I made because I was rightly advised? As a leader, I need certain qualities. So I should have gone through the ranks. As a leadership team, I need certain qualities. The team needs these qualities. And together, it is a phenomenal team of victory, success, win-win, futuristic, legacy, posterity story for the generations. So maybe we have to inflect our leadership teams here and there. It's not about getting rid of people. It's not about sacking people. It's about you seeing, is this a square peg in a round hole? Is this a round peg in a square hole? Are you able to tell the difference? You should as a leader. Because number one, everything falls and rises on the leader. Number two, uneasy lies the head that bears the crown. Number three, the buck stops with the leader. It rests with us. Leadership can be a joy if we want to make it a joy. Yes, there is need for firmness. But every leadership book will tell you, bring people into your team who will complement the areas you are not too strong in and who will push you to become a better leader. I pray this becomes a reality of every team across board, and we'll enjoy a win-win expression. Let me lay this 3-part series to an end. And as I always say, until by the grace of God I come your way next week, this is Pastor Forbes saying, I have been enriched by this. I am challenged by it. I hope you are too. May God bless us. May God keep us. Have a good day. Next week, by the grace of God, we will start something else. Have a good day.
Discover